what I have realized is that if you are not connected to higher power, then you are cooked. You are going to struggle. And the reason I say this, it kind of continuing on from a recent video, it might have been yesterday, where I was talking about God's grace and letting God into your heart, which for many, including myself, is kind of like a bit cringe, and it makes you think of religion and all of those things. But what they're talking about is absolutely dead on. And I don't think you need to say, you don't even need to say God. That's why I think saying higher power or whatever you like to say, it doesn't matter. If you like Christianity and that resonates with you, cool. I was part of the Gnostic Society, and they talk about all the different aspects of the being, the divine feminine, divine masculine, all the different parts in your being, and God and this and that, and look at it however you want, but ultimately submitting yourself to a higher power is the only way to go, basically. And the reason is, otherwise you are grounded in your mind, and the mind is extremely temperamental and frail, and there's all manner of sort of scientific backing that talks about how the mind works, and it's kind of like your reality is created by the mind. It's not even like objective or whatever. So the mind is extremely limited and has biases and all of these things. And ultimately you are forced to create your own sort of meaning, but it's not grounded in anything, and you'll find that it can be swayed, and it ultimately will lead you astray. And so the only way out of that is to submit to something greater, and call it high power, call it God, call it whatever, whether it's Jesus energy, but ultimately it's allowing God, or whatever you want to call it, the higher power, to dictate your actions. And that's a mystery, but it also gives you meaning, and it also bolsters you from the outside world in terms of other people's influences and that kind of thing. And I talk about frame control, and like controlling your frame is absolutely everything. Like, everyone, imagine a big picture frame around you, which encompasses your body, and you're protecting it with your life, because people are trying to impose their frame, and that will make you take on these beliefs that are going to make you feel shit about yourself, or this or that, and it's all of it is not true anyway. It's all sort of this subjective truth, and you can choose to believe it or not believe it, and it's better that you don't believe it, because otherwise you won't be experiencing well-being, you'll be experiencing a great deal of suffering. So you need to be grounded in God, in higher power, in something higher, and ultimately you need to be able to say, hey, I need help. And this is what I was saying about God's grace, which is, you don't have to say, please God help me, but you can just say literally to yourself, or to your higher self, or into the void. You can just say, I need help. And saying that in an instant, will give you options, and you'll know what to do. And it's realizing you are limited in your capacity in your mind to understand life, and life is like infinitely complex and beautiful. And so long as you think you can know everything and control everything, you're going to experience suffering, basically. Why is that the case? Again, I think it's just because of limitations of the mind, and we interpret reality through the mind, and we're subject to being influenced by what we see externally, and the mind sort of struggles to make sense of that. And it's only when you see it as part of this big sort of ineffable mystery that it sort of makes sense, but it makes sense in a mysterious way, and it makes sense after the fact, and you can look back and you go, oh, that was why. But at the time, it's a mystery, and so that's why you can't follow the mind. because it's going to lead you astray. Ultimately, it's limited. And so the only way is to submit yourself to some sort of great higher power. Call it whatever you want, and you are really free to call it whatever you want, and you don't even have to call it anything. You can just feel it and know it, and ultimately that is going to guide you. And yeah, the mind tries to control, thinks it knows, but it is very, very limited. So yeah, ultimately it's only going to get you so far, and you reach a point where it's not helping you and you're suffering, and you're trying to make sense of things, and your rational faculties can't get you there. And so you're left to realize, hey, I need to submit myself to a higher power. And once you're tapped into that magic and energy, like that's able to, that, you know, you start to see it's magic, and you're like, wow, how could you believe, or how, you know, it's even beyond belief. You just know it in your bones. So yeah, so that's really what I wanted to talk about today, is just like how important that is. And then yeah, basically it's so essential that you have some sort of high power to submit to, because it relates to frame control, and ultimately if you're grounded, like it's the ultimate frame to have, is some higher power is looking out for me and loves me, and I'm fine as I am. I don't need to be anyone. I don't need to do anything. You know, all of these things that I talk about, which is like, stop doing shit, just be, and like doing things from the right motivation, and like rather than being reactive or thinking you need to do something, coming from a place of love. And the only way to truly ground yourself in that, and the ultimate frame, is being guided by a higher power. How can I be a vessel, basically, or a vehicle for whatever higher power to express through you, and to be a force for love in the world. And that's will take care of all the financial needs you have, every need. It's like guiding you if you just ask for help, basically. Like it wants to help you, and we stop it because fears we might have around it, fears we're not worthy of love, fears of, you know, all these psychological baggage, which, think about it, is the mind. It's all the mind. The mind prevents you from experiencing well-being. So yet more support for that, how important it is to have some, I want to say faith, but it's just a felt knowing. You just know it after a while. Once you go, okay, I need help, like help me, and trust that, and you develop that trust and faith, and just knowing really that there is some sort of higher force working through you. And it's a mystery, and people will try and tell you about exactly how it should be, look, how you should act, and that's all prescribed, and it's not true. Only you can know, because it moves through you if you allow it to. There was another point that I wanted to make, but I tried not to get sidetracked before when I was speaking, because I always speak tangentially, tangents. So I was like, no, stick to the point, but I was hoping it would come back to me, but I suppose it didn't. So maybe it's not important, but yeah, I suppose the keys of what I'm trying to say really is, like, because frame control is so important, the ultimate grounding, the ultimate frame is I'm doing God's will, you know, to submit and to say you need help and to allow others to help you. That's ultimate frame control, and that extends to relationships. Like, as a guy, I think it applies both for all men and women, but from a guy's perspective, for example, if you can be grounded in that and allow the higher power to work through you, that will guide you, and often that's going to guide you to, you know, challenges and growth and, you know, difficult situations, but you know it's right, and you can ask for help, and things will work out and align as they need to, and you'll learn the lessons you need to. And naturally, the byproduct of that is you are tapped into your masculine energy more, if you're a man, because we are biased towards the masculine. We obviously have both masculine and feminine qualities within us, but we're predominantly masculine. So just by being grounded in that, you will naturally be masculine. Like, you don't have to try and be more masculine and do things that are more masculine. Like, you have your own unique expression, and the byproduct is naturally the byproduct of submitting yourself to some sort of higher power and following that is your innate nature will come out, and that is inherently masculine. And from the other side of it, with women, like, again, we feel like we have to be prescriptive about this is what a man does, he does this and that, and like there's truth to those things, but ultimately you don't even need to worry about that. All you need to do is tap into that sense of knowing and the guidance that you have from your intuition to something, you know, there's something greater guiding you, and you know it, you feel it. And then when you're challenged, be like, I need help. Just saying it to yourself. You can pray to God and be like, please God, help me. Please help me, Jesus. Great Spirit, help me. However you, Father, help me. Like, whatever you think. Mother, Divine Mother, help me. Like, you can pray to whichever version or aspect of the divine that you want, but submitting yourself to that is the way to guide you to the happiness and peace and well-being that, and all of the good things that you want in life. And so as a woman, you do the same thing, you're naturally going to be tapped into your feminine energy, and it's going to support relationships. Like, the byproduct is a healthy relationship because you set proper boundaries and all the things that you can sort of analyze about what's important in a relationship, what a man does, what a woman does, and vice versa. You can sort of leave those aside and just be grounded in following, you know, what you're called to do. And I think most of the issues of the world would be resolved if everyone was fully tapped into it. But obviously that's kind of the end goal. Like, we all have different things, you know, things to learn and uncover, and that's life. So it's kind of like not important, the end goal, but if you keep that as your bearing, then you're going to be in the right track and you'll see good things happen to you. So you do need to develop an awareness and like be observing yourself and reflecting, and not just be mindless about doing what you're doing, because otherwise you're going to be led by desire and you know, reacting to other people's things. Like, you need to be conscious of your frame, conscious of you know, of a higher power, and submitting yourself, and, you know, being the servant to the higher power. It doesn't even need to be that hectic. You can just be like, trust what you're feeling, trust your instinct if you tune into it, and when you run into an obstacle, just ask for help to the universe, to your higher self, whatever resonates with you, and the answers will be given to you. You just have to face a little bit of discomfort and go, I'm going to trust in this. And you trust in more and more, and you'll be guided to well-being. So yeah, the mind is, I've heard, you know, there's sayings like, if you're in your head, you're dead, those kinds of things. I've also heard recently, thinking is gay, which is hilarious and true, largely. So it's like, so much of like being in your head, oh, what about this? Just fucking do the thing. Just get out of your head, get into your heart. That's where you need to be, because that is how you connect to God or whatever, higher, greatest, you know, higher power. And yeah, and the mind is this kind of really limited thing, and it has beliefs that limit you, and you can free your mind, obviously, but the mind is both a positive tool as well. It can help you sort of make sense of things, but ultimately acting from the heart and the instinct. There's a bit of wind and rain happening in the background. Anyway, I'm not sure if there's much more to add, but I do think that's such a key, like, it's so fundamental. The last thing I would say is about frame control. I've mentioned it previously on this video, but just to reiterate, in order to manifest, in order to fully express and experience the well-being that you want, you need to protect your frame. And the big thing, especially for me, and I know it's common, is people, you know, not loving yourself, doubting yourself, being self-critical, all of these things, fearing judgment from other people. All of that is accepting other people's frames, and it just fucking wears you down, and it lets you affect your state. So your state is so important for manifesting or whatever. Like, if you're in a positive state, it'll be reflected externally. But the hardest thing, obviously, is to maintain that, even in spite of challenges or the external world not reflecting your desires, I suppose, because it's that's how it works. But if you get moved by things externally, start taking on different people's energy and beliefs and ultimately frame, then it's going to affect what you're creating in life, and it's going to be reflected externally, and you're going to see, oh shit, I'm not creating what I want, and I'm pissed off. Things aren't how I want them to be. But if you can ground yourself, ultimately, like, it's easier when you're in a good mood and you're like, hell yeah, like, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But when you're tested and, not everyone's pumped and psyched on what you're doing, but you have to maintain your frame, like, no, this is what I think is cool, this is what I'm trying to achieve, stepping into it, like, that's a masculine trait. When you're stepping into that, if you're grounded, if you're grounded knowing that there really isn't like any right or wrong, and that ultimately you're being, you're allowing this higher power to work through you, then you, like, it's fucking clear eyes, full heart, can't lose. Like, that's literally that saying from Friday Night Lights. It's clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose. Your heart's in the right place, you're connected to God, higher power, clear eyes, you're seeing clearly through your frame, and you're sorted. So let's fucking go, Tim Riggins. What a show. So that's what I emphasize. Want to emphasize it's connected to so much, like frame control and all of the things that I say, stopping doing stuff and finding the right meaning, and ultimately creating what you want in life. Is you're not going to be able to do this unless you can overcome this obstacle. Like, if you want to put it in lame manifestation sort of new age terms, like, this is what's stopping you from creating the life that you want, is the fact that you're not submitting yourself to some higher power. And it seems like, oh, I don't need to do that, blah 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 blah. You actually fucking do. You genuinely do. And it doesn't mean you need to be a Christian or a Muslim or a Buddhist or a Scientologist, whatever their high power is. Tom Cruise. No, I don't know, whatever. Whatever it might be, you don't have to call it anything. You can just, you can call it yourself, your higher self. As I've said before, at some level, we are God. So it's just you, it's just us. We, the one. So whatever it is, but you do need to submit to that, because that is ultimately what creates everything. It's the source of everything, and you just can't. Otherwise, you're letting your head dictate it, and the mind is fickle. Fame is a fickle friend, Harry. Except mind is a fickle friend. You get the gist. So anyway, that's pretty much it. Probably repeating myself now, but yeah, submit yourself to a higher power. Call it what you want. Don't call it anything, but know it, and ask for help, and let go, and feel the love come back to you. And it's really quite nice. And things come together, and you trust in it, and the more you do it, the things get better. Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose. Let's go.